All right, if you're working in AI, you live and breathe this idea. What you put into your model matters more than anything. But what if the biggest threat to your project isn't bad data, but no data at all? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a hidden factor that can silently and totally sabotage your results.
You've been there, right? You build a model, you feed it tons of data, you train it, and the output is just weird. It's making predictions that don't make sense, or worse, it's showing a clear bias and you can't figure out why. It is an incredibly frustrating place to be.
Well, the secret, the clue to what's going wrong, it isn't buried in some complex algorithm or a fancy feature you engineered. Nope, it's usually hiding in plain sight. It's in the gaps, the empty spaces, the information that is completely missing from your data set.
And that brings us to something that I like to call a model's silent killer. It's this thing that can undermine all of your hard work without making a single sound. And today, we're going to drag it out into the light. We've all heard that phrase, garbage in, garbage out. It's practically a mantra, but we almost always think of garbage as wrong data or messy data. The truth is, the complete absence of data can be way more destructive. It just weakens your model from the inside out. So, to fight this silent killer, we've got to be able to name it, to measure it, and that brings us to the most important concept for today. Feature coverage. Okay, I know, it sounds a little technical, but it's actually incredibly simple. Feature coverage is just a percentage. That's it. It tells you for any given column or feature in your data how much of it is actually filled in with useful information.
Let's make this real. Forget the jargon. Just picture a simple spreadsheet with 1,000 rows, and each row is a record for a different customer. Simple enough, right?
So let's look at the age column. Out of our 1,000 customers, we only have an age recorded for 900 of them. That means 100 cells are blank. The math is as easy as it gets. 900 filled-in entries divided by 1,000 total entries. Boom. The age feature has 90% coverage.
Okay, so we can calculate a percentage. Big deal, right? Well, yeah, it is a huge deal, because ignoring this number leads to some really serious consequences. This is where low coverage stops being just a metric on a screen and becomes a genuine problem for your project.
See, low feature coverage isn't just one problem. It's like a domino effect. It starts by making your model just plain unreliable. From there, it can introduce sneaky biases. It also messes up your understanding of which features are actually important. And it can even corner you, limiting the very tools and algorithms you're able to use.
And here's where it gets truly dangerous. What if that missing data isn't random? What if, for example, you're missing the income for people mostly from one specific zip code? Your model might accidentally learn to punish that entire neighborhood. This is exactly how systemic bias quietly worms its way into our AI systems.
And beyond bias, you've got this practical, technical headache. Some of the more modern algorithms like XGBoost or LightGBM are smart. They can actually handle missing data. They can learn from the fact that a value is missing. But a lot of the classics, think linear regression or SVMs, their math just breaks. They require a number in every single cell. So with those, you're stuck. You either have to throw away entire rows of precious data, or you have to guess at the missing values, which is a whole other can of worms.
All right, enough about the problems. Let's talk solutions. It's time to arm you with a practical rulebook, a guide so you can look at any feature and know exactly what your next move should be. This brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? What's the magic number? How much coverage is actually good enough to trust? Well, thankfully, you don't have to guess. There are some really solid rules of thumb that people use. And here it is, your cheat sheet. Think of it like this. Anything above 95% coverage? That's excellent. Just use it. Between 80 and 95%? That's acceptable, but you might need to fill in a few of the gaps. Now, if you drop below 80%, you're in the risky zone. You have to stop and investigate why the data is missing. And if a feature has less than 50% coverage, it's generally considered unusable. It's just too unreliable and probably has to be dropped entirely. So when you find yourself in that risky zone, what do? It's time to put on your detective hat. We need to figure out the root cause of the problem. And to do that, we need to look at the usual suspects responsible for low feature coverage. The causes can be anything from, simple human error on a form to a sensor failing and not logging data,
or even a bad database join when you're merging tables. Sometimes it's even done on purpose, like when data is removed for privacy. But pay close attention to number 3 here, conditional collection. This is a huge one. This is when a feature only gets recorded under specific circumstances. Think about a feature like reason for canceling subscription. That data will only exist for former customers, creating this massive, perfectly logical gap in your data that you have to account for. So, when you boil it all down, the takeaway is simple, but it's really powerful. You have to start paying just as much attention to the empty cells in your spreadsheet as you do to the ones that are filled in. The full story of your data is written in both the ink and the blank spaces.
And that leaves us with one final, and I think crucial question. Your model, no matter how brilliant, is only as smart as the data you give it. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Do you really know what your data is missing? Thanks for joining me.